All right, so another requested comparison video. Um, a good one actually, because these are two types that I think in a lot of ways are extremely misunderstood types. They are not given their due in a lot of ways. Two types that I kind of like them, but I also feel like they're a little bit of an underdog sort of type. They just don't, as I said, get their full credit. So SEE, which is the ESFP, and the ESE, which is your ESFJs, both are SF types, part of the SF clubs. So they're the socialites. They're very social people. They like to socialize and engage with people. They do well in those kind of environments. Um, Generally do pretty well. Um, but they go about it in very different ways. Now, as I said, these are two types I find them as underdogs. I very much I like them a lot, both for two different reasons. These are two types that often get written off by many people as just being these socialites, these social people. They just like to talk to people, but they're seen as shallow or stupid, unintelligent people, or people that are just uninterested in deeper, more nuanced conversations, or people that are sometimes seen as incapable of diving into deeper abstract conversations, philosophical conversations, um, being intelligent in technical skills and things like that. They're often just written off, and they just are basically reduced down to just being a certain party girl, social mommy type stereotype. And that's kind of about it. It happens a lot. Now you could say, well, Jason, there's a reason the stereotype exists. True. At the end of the day, they are very good at social things. That's generally what they're focused at and what they're good at. But it's still a stereotype. It's still extremely dismissive and reductionistic. Okay. It is possible, and I've seen it myself, I know people personally that can be either of these types, and they're a mechanical engineer at NASA, for example. I know somebody like that. Um, it is very possible that you have someone of these types and they're president of the United States. They are a general, a celebrated military leader. Um, and other such professions like that, right? So they don't have to be reduced to just being the Susie homemaker who just wants to cook for everybody, or the party girl that just is doing keg stands, right? I think it's unfortunate that within the community, so for some reason, the way things are written with these types, we tend to reduce them down to those little stereotypes. And it's almost like inconceivable that they could be a mechanical engineer at NASA or something like that. Like it's just like it just doesn't come to mind for these types, and yet it happens a lot. Okay, there's also the problem that we tend to think of these types a lot as always a female that we're thinking about. There's always some kind of a feminine archetype in our minds for these characters. So that creates a block of what do these types look like when they're male? Are they going to present the same way? Of course not. They're going to look a little different. They're still going to have the same functions. They're still going to play and generally the same elements and so on. But a male utilizing a lot of FE is still going to be subject to the culture he comes from. He's still going to try to act in a somewhat masculine way that's more acceptable. So on. He's not necessarily going to be baking you a cake and trying to give hugs and kisses on the cheeks for everybody. Okay. It's just, you got to keep that in mind. Um, Same goes over here. SEE and ESFP female with SE maybe is a party girl. Maybe goes out and does this and that and doesn't go around punching people in the face. Maybe that doesn't happen. Could be just a gender thing. Then there are situations where, yeah, maybe it is that kind of girl who doesn't have a problem literally punching people in the face. And it could be male and they punch people in the face or don't. That happens too. You can run into a high SE user who's an SEE who will tell you, I don't know if this works for me because I've never been in a fight in my life. I don't, it's like, don't fall into those particular traps. Okay. So, saying two very misunderstood types, often dismissed. In particular, the SEE, the ESFP, in my opinion, is one of the most misunderstood types in all of the 16 personalities, kind of across systems. Socionics tends to do much better, a lot better than the other systems like MBTI. And so when it comes to ESFPs, and I say that because I've seen many ESFPs, many of them will have their own channels and things like that, and we'll talk about this. Well, they'll say that they got a report from Socionics about ESFPs, and they were much more satisfied with that report. The way that it described them, the way that it analyzed them, and so on, they will say, this is much more accurate, this is much more detailed, and really captures me a whole lot better than ESFPs coming out of like MBTI and stuff like that. So why is that? One of the first things I'm going to jump to straight away, the ESFPs, they're a gamma quadra. Okay, gamma quadra values. Serious quadra, probably the most serious of all the quadras, possibly. Certainly right there with gamma. Beta, excuse me, beta and gammas. Right, so it's a very serious type. They tend to have a serious kind of attitude towards things. They're very achievement focused, and they often want to just achieve things, get things done, achieve things that they want for themselves in many cases. They're a very independent, focused type of person. These are three critical values that you see coming out of gamma that unites all of the gamma types. All the gammas will have this in common. This is critical. I'm bringing this up because of the fact that you have to realize that an ESFP, SEE, has something in common with an INTJ, or really I should say the ILIs, and they have something in common with the LIEs, right? They're going to seem similar at times. They're going to have something in common. They're going to relate to them in some ways. How is it possible that the party girl stereotype relates to an ILI, INTJ, or really in Socionics an INTP, but whatever, right? How is that possible? It's because of the values are in alignment. They're serious-minded people. They want to achieve things. They're very independent-minded. So they're not just this woo party chick. It's very important to keep that in mind. And it separates them tremendously from your ESE, ESFJs that are alpha quadra values. Alpha quadra is the merry, democratic, group-oriented quadra. This is the most happy-go-lucky, let's all have a good time. Let's all eat, drink, and be merry. Let's all get together. Very group-oriented and democratic in the sense that they want to hear from everybody. Everyone should have a voice. Everyone should be heard. Let's all participate together in things. The more the merrier, the more is better, more people. They're very open and welcoming to just about everybody, okay, in general. And they like or group things. They like doing large group things. They like being part of organizations. Let's take the big group photo. Let's all kind of like put the theme party together and we're all together dressed in the same stuff and they enjoy doing as many things. It's very group mentality. Okay. This gives that ESE that very welcoming, motherly. Everyone is welcome to my dinner table. Everyone's welcome to the feast. That stereotype, that's why the ESFJs kind of have that, because they generally just give off that vibe, that energy of wanting everybody, as many people involved as possible, and they want to keep conflict and dislikes and petty gripes and people not like. They want to keep all that out of the way. They don't want to deal with that. They want to keep that as far away as possible until it becomes absolutely necessary to deal with. They want to just disregard that. It's about positive vibes with Alpha Quadra. Okay? Gamma Quadra is not about positive vibes. Gamma Quadra is serious. It's we need to get things done. We need to achieve things. And in order to do that, we need to focus on what needs to get done, how to do it right, and get all the idiots out of the way and all the obstacles and barriers out of my way in order for me to achieve what I want. It's rather competitive in that achievement sense. Betas and gammas are kind of a very competitive pair of quadras. These are the types that want to succeed in competitive environments like sports, business. They want to compete in politics. They want to compete on the battlefield. They want to compete in social media sphere where everyone's fighting for attention. They want to compete. Okay. They want to win. They want to get somewhere. They want to make money, whatever. Okay, there's an achievement that is hard to obtain, and so they're trying to go get it. It's very much on their focus. They're very independent minded. This is a group that does not want to deal with they don't just want to be part of the crowd. They don't want to just get along with everybody. They don't want to welcome just everybody to the table. They don't believe that everyone should have a vote or that everyone should have an opinion. They value certain individual people more than others and think certain people have earned a voice more than others. They disregard certain other people that they think are meaningless, useless, don't help them, are stupid, are just not, whatever. So there's much more of a, I hate to use this word discriminatory, but they're discriminating in the sense of like, these are the people I value, or these are the people that I think are useful to me. These are the people that make sense. I value their judgment. I value their opinion. And these are the people that I do not value their opinion. I don't value their judgment. I don't value what they're doing or whatever. Or they just are irrelevant, right? Gammas can think in that terms. So I'm really just dived right into these quadrants because this is a huge difference. And it's one of the areas where alphas and gammas kind of don't get along in a sense, but I think they kind of can sometimes. I feel like they oppose each other, yet I find that sometimes you can actually really like the other side of the coin. You can kind of like alphas. Because they are very, let's get along. And sometimes, you know what, as gammas, we can benefit from that. That's kind of how I see it. So anyway, they're quite different in that sense. So these two are generally very social types. Yes, they're socialites. They like to deal in the social realm, talking to people, engaging with people a lot, leading people, working with people, thinking about people, worrying about social issues, what's going on in the world, in a social sphere. They focus a lot on that, but they go about it quite differently because their values are quite different. Gamma is often looking to achieve something, to make something of themselves in a way, to win something or acquire something, whatever. They can have a much more serious attitude where they don't suffer fools. They don't like people they view as idiots, or people that are whatever. They can judge people more harshly as to whether useful, not useful, full of shit, not full of shit. What else did I want to say? Whatever. They're doing that. Why? It really just boils down to FI, this valuing and usage of FI that all gammas have, and the SE obviously does, and versus FE, which your ESFJs have. And all of your alphas value FE. It's a much more inclusive. It's about the group, the atmosphere, and the mood. FIs, do I like certain people or do I not? Do I like certain things or do I not? Do I value them and do I not value them? It's much more, some people call it polarizing. I heard Trey use that term, so I'll kind of acknowledge him on that. I do like that. It's polarizing. I either like this or I don't like this. It's on one side of the pole or it's on the other. Okay, so that really flavors the difference in how these kinds of types socialize. And again, much more independent in their approach. Now, let me concentrate a little more with SE here. So the SE, in my opinion, is probably, I think it's the single most misunderstood, not well written about, kind of all over the place element in all of typology, all across the boards, whatever. Socionics probably tries to do the best job in it, and I don't think Socionics is perfect because of the usage of the word force can imply to the average person, that kind of implies an aggressive individual that's going to punch you in the face. And that's just not always going to work. That's, a lot of people don't necessarily resonate with that kind of aggressiveness. Okay, so that can be a bit of an issue. However, in this case for Socionics, SE, this is somebody who's expanding in the sensory world. They like to do a lot of things, like to go out a lot. They like to experience new adventures, travel a lot, maybe talk to a lot of different people, get involved with a lot of different hobbies, particularly physical hobbies, something that you can physically do. And they like to be very active people, constantly doing things, constantly moving around, trying to involve themselves in this or that or the other. So you may notice somebody who is always doing things. They're always trying something. They're expanding. They're doing different things all the time. Now, that could be going out, just going to clubs or whatever, but that could also be somebody who is trying out a lot of different hobbies and stuff. They have a lot of interests and they're kind of exploring different interests. Somebody who, let's say they did some martial arts over here, and then they did this art stuff over there, and then they did schooling things where they were part of this schooling thing over there, and then they were part of some dance thing over here, and then they socialized with a lot of different groups and traveling places. I already mentioned that. You know, they can kind of be seemingly doing a lot of different things, moving in different directions and discretely different things. They're not the same. They're bouncing around a lot. That could be another sign of SE. Being somewhat impulsive, wanting to constantly be stimulated and engaging with something, which could be a video game, could be a movie, could be that they like to be talking to people over the phone a lot, whatever. It's some kind of stimulation, right? That's how you should think with SE. There's a lot that goes with SE. It's a very complicated kind of function away. All right. So SEFI, the FI mentioned before, it's polarizing, it's discriminatory about who can I work with, who can I not, who do I like, who do I not like, things that I value and don't value, things that I like and don't like. Now, in the case of the SEE, it's somebody who is using it more in the moment, right? In the moment here now, who do I like, who do I not like? What things can I use and not use? Which things do I like and not like? What is my preference for things? It's much more transactional. It's not this consistent thing. That's important. From a socionics point of view, the creative function is a flexible function that can turn on and off. It's not always going to be active and working all the time. So you should not look for an SEE where you're expecting to see this very FI stuff appearing constantly in them, where they're talking about it all the time, or they're engaging with it all the time, or it's clearly showing all the time. No, because they can turn it on and off. They use it when they need to use it, and they don't when they don't need to use it. It's the creative function. Okay? And it's meant to serve their SE things. These are all things I want to do and explore in the world and this and that, all because I value it. All because I like to do this. Oh, I don't want to deal with those things because I don't value those things. Oh, I want to explore and hang out with these people and engage with stuff because I like them, because I find something useful about them. Oh, I don't want to engage with those people anymore, or because I don't like them. That's where the FI is kind of flavoring here. This is a type that they can form some friends that last a long time. And at the same time, they can form some fairly close bonds that get along rather well and intimately well with certain people for a brief period of time based on the situation, the circumstance that they're in, and then they just kind of move on after that. It's like, okay, the time passed, the situation's over, they can move on. All right, they don't need to make consistent, long-lasting, close friends everywhere they go forever. It's not quite like that. So maybe this might appear in the sense of like you made friends that you got along with rather well. You got to know them well. You got into more intimate conversations. You did stuff, and you knew them maybe in class or schooling for a little while, and then you moved on because that class is over, that program is over, whatever. You were part of some hobby or some game or some show or something like that. Been watching some of these game shows lately, and you see some people get together, they bond together for a while on the show to achieve a goal, to win. And they had a good time and they got to know each other, but the show is over, this is over, and they kind of can move on, right? SEEs can do that. Okay, they can just kind of move on. It had its time and its place, and we got along great, and we move on. Okay. So TI polar for the SEEs. For the SEE, I find that this TI polar thing is really going to demonstrate itself most consistently in the sense that they're not consistent. In the way in which they go about things on a day-to-day level, they're not particularly consistent. They don't create structures that they follow on a routine basis. They don't like to really create some kind of a structured model of the world that they're going to follow and like, this is the way of it, this is what I'm going to keep doing. They don't do that. This is why they can appear like a very chaotic individual, and they get labeled that a lot. A very chaotic person that seems to be flying by the seat of their pants all the time at everything they're doing, because they seem very unstructured. They seem to just not have a consistent methodology for how they go about doing things a lot. Sometimes you'll see that in physically and like how they go doing their work. They don't have a structured way that they do it the same way all the time. They may demonstrate it more abstractly in the sense that they don't really have a consistent viewpoint on something. They don't have a consistent philosophy of this is what I think and this is the way I do it, and I stick to that universally all the way across the boards. They don't really seem to do that. They can seem to kind of waffle a little bit. In more extreme cases, you will catch types that they're extremely contradictory. You might get into an argument or a conversation with one, and they'll say a certain thing. This is what I believe, blah, 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 and an hour later or 10 minutes later, they contradict themselves. They say something else that just totally doesn't make sense what they said before. Right. And that's in kind of more extreme cases, you'll see them do that. The any, so any as a role function. So when they need to be a little more creative, think about other possibilities, other ways of doing stuff, other viewpoints, they may try that. They may do that. In terms of exploring the world of ideas, different things that are out there, different subjects, different topics, they may do that. They, when they need to do it. It's usually not something that they care to do that much. They prefer to try to narrow down to a particular thing and a particular way of viewing things. Where this really shows up a lot better is when you block them, NETI, TINE, or overall, SEs are probably not all that thrilled about very abstract models of things. So for example, socionics is an abstract model. Socionics itself is very much a TI thing, and it's very much a TINE thing, or NETI. Why? The whole thing is theoretical. The whole thing is a model that has rigid rules and categories and structure where everything is supposed to go. And the whole damn thing is very abstract. All right. All these elements and things are abstract. Very TINE, excuse me, or NETI. So that's part of the reason why you tend to see a lot of ILEs and LIIs and all these other heavy TI users and so on, and particularly a lot of TINE or NETI, a lot of abstract TI users within the realm of socionics and typology in general. Meanwhile, you don't see that many SEEs and ESFPs because not many of them want to play this game. It's too much of a model, too much of a structured system that's very abstract. A lot of them don't do that. There's a lot of SEs that are not going to necessarily entertain deeply philosophical conversations for too long either, because they may see that as kind of pointless. Now, it's key to note, it doesn't mean that they're stupid and they don't understand the philosophy that you're telling them. This is critical to get this through people's heads. There are many SEEs that can understand the philosophy that you're trying to talk about, whether it's Nietzsche or whatever existentialist crap. They can understand it, but they don't value it very much. They don't really care about it very much. They don't want to dive into these possibilities all that much. They just don't see the point to it. So TE and NI, all right, had a little brain fart there on where I wanted to go. TE and NI. So TE, in the case of the SEE, is their mobilized function. It's something they're trying to develop and get better at. They're trying to get better at just understanding things, on how things work, how and why it works the way it does, and then how to best implement that thing. What is the most effective way to do it and use it? It's a mobilized position, so it's something that the SEEs can get better in, and often will get better in over time. Okay. They will begin to demonstrate more competency in how they're going about doing things, understanding research data, raw information on this is what's been shown to work or proved to work, and just looking up things, like just researching things, seeing what's been written about it and so on, and then absorbing that information and utilizing that information, rather than just diving into something and trying. Okay, that's the TE portion. The NI, of course, being able to see the direction in which they want to go, which is the thing that's going to be of most significance long term, especially for them. What is the thing I should do that's going to yield the most significant, most meaningful outcome for me? They can struggle with that a lot. It's the NI suggestive. This is where they prefer to have this done by someone else. Somebody else can help them, can help guide them as to what is the most significant thing down the road. What's the way, what's going to work and not work down the road. Of course, we can block it, TE and then NI. So we see these two working together. What are the things that are going to work? Because this is just how things work and how things get done. And so if you do it like this, it will work out in the long run. It will put itself together, okay? Because it's just the way things are done. It's the way in which it works. It's the structure to how this industry or organization works or whatever. SI and FE down at the bottom. So they're demonstrative FE. So they can show that they do pretty well in groups of people. They can be charming, they can be sociable, they can enjoy being part of a fun, happy-go-lucky environment where everybody's kind of getting along and playing along, whatever. They can enjoy, again, very social group activities and so on. They can enjoy those kinds of things and do fairly well in there. But they don't value it. It's not the priority to them. The priority is the SEFI, getting after the things that I want, getting after the people I want, achieving the things that I want to achieve. That is more important. Not this FE stuff. And typical with Gamma Quadra, they don't mind disrupting a nice harmonious environment in order to speak their truth or speak what they believe or go after what they want to go after, or to get into it with some people they don't like or someone they don't like or something going on in there. They may say, okay, well, you know, we're going to argue, we're going to battle, and we're going to disrupt the environment because I don't care. I don't like the way this person did something, or I don't like what they said, or I don't like what's going on in here, or something is bothering me or whatever. Or I stand for something. I value a particular thing, and now that thing is kind of being trampled on a little bit by something in this environment or whatever. So bottom line, they'll crap all over the FE mood in the room. They don't care about upholding a nice positive mood. Which ties into the SI ignoring. An SEE can take care of themselves. They kind of understand, like, okay, there's certain things I need to do to take care of myself, to go to sleep, eat right, do things around my house, deal with the day-to-day mundane stuff. They can do those things. They don't like to do those things. It's boring to them. It's not interesting at all. It doesn't help them really achieve the SE things that they want to do. So they kind of ignore it. They don't like it. They just don't care. It's just bleh. But they can do it. They're not completely inept at this. And as you see down here, SEFE, or I'm sorry, SIFE, this is very much about maintaining a comfortable mood, a comfortable atmosphere, a pleasant atmosphere where everybody can kind of get along and be relaxed and be involved. And it's not, that's what all this is about. It's all ignored. It's all stuff that the SE does not really care that much about anyway. Okay. The complete reverse with ESE, where FE and SI is on top. It's pretty much what I've been saying the whole time. They care about the mood and the atmosphere and everybody kind of getting along, being merry, being a group. We're all comfortable. We're all relaxed. And let's keep that going as long as we can, as much as we can. We don't want any kind of problems here. FESI types will demonstrate SE and become aggressive with people, usually when somebody has disrupted the mood and has become an annoying pain in the ass to the whole group, is damaging the calm and the happy atmosphere of the group. The ESEs may now get annoyed and get pissed, and now they will rage out on you and use their SE. Once the mood has kind of been established, or they've knocked that person back in line, or maybe gotten rid of them if necessary, they can go back to being their positive, nice, happy-go-lucky self. SEs, not really. They're doing their own thing. It don't matter. They might just walk away and be like, whatever, the mood is just ripped up and destroyed. Oh, well, that's what had to be done. And, you know, it's unfortunate. I don't really want to be annoying and piss people off, but if I have to do that, I'll do that. Okay. Carry on, my wayward son. For the ESEs, NI is the vulnerable function. They have a harder time kind of seeing where things are going to go. They have a harder time telling that no matter how much work you do, no matter how much positivity you try to pour onto it, some things are just never going to work out. It's just never going to happen. Especially when you talk about NI and then TE over here as the role function, put it together. It's like, look, you can work all you want about something. It's not going to work. And it's not going to work because the structure of it, how this works and the process that this must go through, it prevents you from ever making certain things happen. Some people just don't have the talent for certain things. It doesn't matter how much heart and soul and encouragement you give them. They don't have the talent. They'll never make it. No matter how much you work at a thing, you don't have the talent. You're never going to make it. Not everybody can do everything. Not every project you get into is really going to get there. So this is a type that sometimes feels like if I just keep at it, hard work, if that person keeps at it, I just encourage them and we keep the encouragement going and yeah, that's it. Like you can do it, you can make it happen. Kind of believing in this positivity of keep your head up and just, and through good vibes and energy, you can make it, you can do things are going to work out. And it's like, no, not necessarily. You're not paying enough attention to how this shit works. So that can happen with this type. Now they do have TE as a role function where they can get some pretty good TE, and that's part of the reason why an ESE can do well in jobs and careers and work where they can understand their job very well. They can get good at it. They can do jobs that are not socially oriented, but are rather mechanical in its nature. It's analytical in its nature, and they can do the job well. So this might be an example. Maybe you run into an ESE that is a mechanical engineer or something like that. And you're like, well, that's weird. They can do it. It's possible. Yeah. Moving on. NE. ESEs are very open-minded people in that they like all kinds of ideas and creativity, and they like to hear stories of other people. They like to hear, other nerdy types going on about some other weird interest, or hey, this is the latest scientific thing that they discovered. Hey, did you know that we found this new planet in the solar system or whatever the heck? Oh, it's multi-dimensional space stuff, and they can engage in all kinds of stuff. They can be very open to being very playful in conversation, exploring places. Let's go out and do some new stuff you've never done before. They can sometimes do that too, thanks to NE. They kind of want to play around with it. So it's a type that is very interested in just being very open-minded to trying all kinds of stuff and not taking things too seriously either. Like, let's just play with things, right? They don't feel they have to be good at everything or to be the best at things. They just like, let's just play with it and have fun with it. We're just going to have a good time. And it's a type that doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't mind looking like an idiot in front of people for the sake of having a good time. Let's have a good time. That's what matters most. That's FESI. Let's all have a good time. If I look like a clown and a moron because I'm doing some weird tribal dance on a cruise ship somewhere in front of everybody, it's fine. It's all for the sake of having a good time and exploring stuff for the fun of it. TI, again, not a very, it's a type that's not always so great at being structured. Particularly when it comes to ideas and concepts. Like they don't always really understand how to put more complex ideas and put everything in order where it all belongs. This is what this is what that is. Let me structure a logical conversation or an argument. Let me discuss something in a good, concise, logical way. They can have problems with that. And especially here with this NETI block, right? We're back to logical abstractions and putting things in proper place, proper categories and order. They can have trouble with that. This is where the ESE sometimes you start getting into really academic-y, highbrow type of conversations, and they can fumble around at trying to explain those things and articulate them and understand where everything kind of goes, right? And they may need some help from other types to explain all that and make sense of it all. Again, doesn't mean they're stupid. It's just not their area. And then down at the bottom, we have the FI and the SE, which we've kind of already talked about. They're FI ignoring, so they are not stupid about who they like and who they don't like. They know who they like and don't like. They understand who's an asshole and who's not. They are aware of their own values and things that they like and don't like. They do those things, but they ignore it at the they ignore it in favor of FE. They prefer group atmosphere. Let's all do something together. Let's all get involved. And we'll even bring in some of those people we don't like. We don't like them very much. They're not my favorite cup of tea, but we'll bring them in. Let's all just get together. It's again very much like a Thanksgiving kind of thing. Like, look, it's Thanksgiving. Let's bring everyone together. I know we hate Uncle Bob and we don't like the other person and they're assholes every year, but it doesn't. This is a time to welcome everybody. They have that mindset not only on holidays but in general in most day-to-day affairs. They're that person who's trying to keep the peace and bring everybody involved. Find the good in everybody. Let's bring everybody in, even if we don't like them. They don't want to be excluding people. And again, the SE, they're not really a type that is very ambitious or looking at the world in a competitive way. They're not trying to achieve high things and so forth. That's usually not what they're after. And especially with this SEFI combination, they're not interested, again, in forcing people out, creating boundaries, saying, I don't like that person. I don't want them to come to Thanksgiving. I don't like this person. I don't want them here. Or I don't like what's going on over there because I don't like what those people over there are about. I don't like their values. I don't like what's going on over there. I don't want to have anything to do with it. They're not interested in that. They don't like to do those things because that opposes this inclusive mindset. It's not a type that wants to speak ill of people. It's another piece. I don't think I've talked about that. They don't want to speak ill of people. They don't typically want to say bad things about certain people. It's a type that wants to keep the peace and everybody get along. So they may not like certain people and they may realize that some people are not so great, but they prefer to refrain from outwardly having conversations about how shitty somebody is. They especially don't really want to talk about it publicly. And they like to minimize those conversations. So maybe you'll get somebody who I have a grandmother that's like, she'll just roll her eyes about somebody. She'll kind of like quietly look at you and just like roll her eyes when that person says something stupid, and just give you like, that's like her way of acknowledging to you that yes, this person is annoying or this person has stupid stuff, but that's it. That's as far as they're going to go. They're just going to do a little eye roll and we move on and we keep the happy-go-lucky theme going. Let's try not to make an issue out of anything. Okay. SEFI for an SEE will make an issue out of things. They will sometimes hear some comments from somebody. They could take it personally, or maybe it's not personal. Maybe it's just like, you know what, I'm not liking what this person is about, or I'm not liking something they said doesn't make sense to me. It's not quite right. It's incorrect. And I feel the need to bring that up. And now we're going to have a discussion about why I think your opinion on this matter is incorrect. And now, because we're having this discussion, a debate or an argument has broken out over the dinner table. Right. And it's beginning to disrupt the calm, feel good vibes of the environment, because now this debate is starting to get a little contentious, a bit argumentative. Right. It's not a fight. Nobody's hitting each other. Nobody's trying to kill each other with a drumstick. But it's starting to become a competitive debate that seems like somebody is trying to win over someone else. And that's starting to move away from the happy environment. Right. So SEs might do that. All right. Kind of a lot. I feel like I rambled forever. Again, these are two types thoroughly misunderstood. In particular, SEEs are often described, especially in MBTI world, they're often talked about as if they were an ESE. It's often been said that it's almost like MBTI stuff doesn't almost see the difference sometimes between an SE and an ESE. Why do I say that, or where is that coming from? Because in a socionics concept, SEEs, again, can be much more aggressive. They can be much more harsh with people. They can be not caring about keeping a happy-go-lucky mood. They may not be interested in creating those moods at all. And they can be very focused at achieving goals and winning at things, being ambitious in competitive fields and so on like that. They can be a lot more independent, willing to just kind of do things on their own. This is a sort that may do certain things as part of a group, and like they're there and they're smiling and they're part of the group, but in their mind they're kind of like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I have to do this shit. Why do they make us all get together for these like stupid functions? I don't want to do this crap. And they don't want to do this. They just kind of want to go do their own thing. Right? That's how they're feeling internally. But they kind of go along and smile and like whatever, because they realize that's what I have to do. It's what this job requires me to do or whatever. But they don't like to do it. They're much more independent. They want to do their own thing in their own way, dress in their own way, etc. ESEs can play along with the group a lot more, be a lot more willing to play ball with everybody. Like, okay, let's all do a group thing. Yay, okay, let's do it. They're much more willing to do that. ESEs can be much more image conscious. Their brand, this is the image, the brand, the way I want to market myself, the way I want to portray myself. It's very FE. That's very FE stuff. I'm concerned with how I'm going to come across to people. I want to cultivate an image that can be consistently seen by people. And they associate me with a certain viewpoint. They see me in some kind of a positive light, or some kind of a light that I want them to see me as. Okay. SEEs can be more, I don't really care how people see me. I'm going to do things what's authentic and real to me as I see it. And you know what? If people see me in a negative way, in a positive way, or some other kind of weird way, like whatever, that's their business. I don't care. That's the not valuing of the FE. They can be mindful and aware of how they're being perceived. They can be mindful that they're going to be perceived wrong, but they don't care, because ultimately the FI is what matters more. Ultimately, this SEFI, going after the things that I want, achieving the things that I want, that's what matters to me. I don't really give a damn what you all think of me. Right? Or at least they have much more of that attitude compared to the ESEs. So this is why ESEs, ESFJs, generally speaking, have a very happy-go-lucky, they get along with everybody. They're just a positive ray of sunshine to most people. That's how they're perceived. And that's their superpower. That's what they do extremely well in this world. They are a ray of sunshine. It's a wonderful trait to have. SEEs, not always a ray of sunshine. They can be fun. They can be dramatic. They can be inspiring. They can be dynamic characters, right? Some forceful, interesting personalities, but they're not necessarily a ray of sunshine. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass. Sometimes they're mean to people. Sometimes aggressive with people, whatever. They're not consistently this ray of sunshine. It's gonna fluctuate quite a bit. Right. I think I've gone on more than enough. My brains are like falling out of my face at this point. So, yeah, hopefully that covers it. I'm sure I'll think of something else that I forgot or didn't emphasize enough, or maybe I should have reworded it. Whatever. As usual, leave your comments. Let me know. What did I not go over enough? What did I overemphasize, underemphasize, mumbled, stumbled, fumbled, whatever. And what do you think of these types? A little bit. I'm very curious. Again, I think these are two types that kind of get shit on a lot unjustly. I think they're just not appreciated nearly enough. So what do you think? Okay. On to the next thing. I think I got to still talk about like ENTPs and ENFPs. So that'll be the next thing that happens. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next thing.